as well as a dozen restaurants, live entertainment, more than 4,000 slot machines, poker, and other table games. Historic downtown Durant charms visitors and locals alike with its eclectic lineup of unique shops and local restaurants. Downtown events like the monthly Art Walk, the seasonal farmers market, and a host of holiday-themed sales stem from the efforts of Durant Main Street and its partnership with area merchants working together to make downtown the place to be.
We really see downtown as the heartbeat of our city. You can come here to find everything from shopping to entertainment, outdoor spaces, art,
All right, we're going to call it 3:02, and we'll call our regular meeting of the Durant Community Facilities Authority to order, and with that, we'll call the roll.
Trustee Baxter.
Here.
Trustee Blackburn is absent. Trustee Briscoe.
Here.
Trustee Dillard.
Here.
Trustee Grover.
Here.
Trustee Miller.
Here.
Trustee Morris is absent. Vice Chairman Pierce is absent. Chairman Webb.
Here. All right, thank you very much. Move to our consent items, and the only thing there is our minutes from our previous meeting of December 6th, 2022. If you've had a chance to review those.
I'll make a motion to approve consent items.
Motion?
I'd second.
And a second.
Trustee Baxter.
Approve.
Trustee Briscoe.
Yes.
Trustee Dillard.
Can I abstain since I wasn't here?
Okay.
Abstain.
Trustee Grover.
Yes.
Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Chairman Webb.
Aye. Very good, thank you. No items removed from consent, so we'll move forward to 3 our information items, and the first is the financial report as of January 31, 2023. Thank you for being here. Any report that you have, and then anything of note that you might draw our eyes to?
Not really. This is really regular, and then you can see the first 3 pages, kind of the summary pages, and the first pages is your gross revenue checking accounts summary, and the bottom one is our debt service. That it's just one of the debt service, and that is the kind of that balance, that how much we already pay off, and you can see this is semi-annual payment. Yeah, and the second page is the kind of like income statement, you know, revenue and expense account, and then it's also the summary pages. And then you can tell that when we pay out the semi-annual payment, that the net gain and loss will be huge amount, but over the six months it will cover it.
Right.
Yeah. And the third page is our sales tax, quarter-cent sales tax. That is the report that I just generated it for you to, you know, can see that, okay, how much that compared to the prior year, the same month, is that increase or decrease?
Right.
And the rest of it, behind it, is the backup paper that I attached the bank statement, income statement from our financial software, and let me see, the sales tax report. You can, actually, this sales tax report, you can also find it in our council package. It's the same one. Any question?
Well, I'm going to encourage this group to go buy something when we leave, because this is the first month that I can recall that our change from prior fiscal year month, we're actually down 1.84%. So we'll all leave here and go buy soda pop and whatnot. The other thing, just curious, and no question, and I know it's been this way for a long time. I was just looking at then the bank account on that next page. What type of an account is that held in? I know it earns interest, but is it a?
It's just regular checking account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could that be in a money market or something?
That was my question.
Yeah, could that be in a money market account and draw more interest than the twos, maybe?
Well, this checking account that we set it up to, those debt service, they monthly automatic take it out.
Mm-hmm.
So if money market, I'm not sure that how many time we can withdraw the money. And this is the original, this is 20 years ago that,
Sure.
yeah, someone set it up. But if we want to change it, we have to change a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Those monthly that they withdraw from because right now we have two debt service. One is for the First United, that $9,089.98 or 89 cents, that one. That one is automatic, take it out from our
Monthly?
account. Yes,
Yep.
and another one is Bank of Oklahoma, I think. They, every month, take out small portion, and then every 6 months, they pay out the principal and interest. So if we want to change this to the money market, it will cause a lot of trouble, I have to say that.
So you think there's 2 withdrawals per month on this account?
The total is 1, 2, 3, 4 withdrawal monthly.
I think it'd be interesting to check into that.
Yeah.
2% of that money right there is a lot of money.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be something to look at.
I can ask, but yeah, but
Yeah, and if it would generate additional earnings significant enough, and again, I think the market is several times
or we can have
what
another
that number is.
We
so.
can have another way is we can put maybe $500,000 for the CD for 2-3 CD.
Yeah.
And then every 6 months, when we need the money, we can put it back, or if we don't need it, we can extend it. That is another way to generate some money.
4 to 5 on a CD that size.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, that'd be
I'll
4
add,
to 5.
yeah, I'll ask around and then see how this can work, and then
We're looking at
we
doing
can
some similar
generate
things
some
with our
money.
foundation money, just because it's there and it's at a market it hadn't been in a while. So,
Yeah.
okay, great,
Okay.
thank you.
Right.
Would you mind kind of exploring that and just see what that might entail, and then allowable transactions monthly, how that affects us,
Sure.
those kinds of things?
But I would suggest the CD is more
Okay.
easy way. We still keep this, and then
Anticipate what we'll need to spend over 6 months,
yes,
and
yes,
sweep the other into.
and every
yeah.
6 months, when we need more money, we can put it back, or we just
Sure.
keep roll over to the new CD.
Okay.
Right now, I think the CD rate is pretty good too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
I've seen some First United at 5.05.
That is for the personal, right? Not for this kind of.
I don't know.
But I will ask.
Yeah.
Yes, I will ask.
5.05, and I know 7's at 4.8.
Yeah.
So you're
Okay.
gonna be in the high 4s to 5
Yeah.
on a
Okay.
CD, and I've seen some mid 2s for money
For
market.
money markets, yeah.
And that'd just be like a checking account.
Okay.
So you
I will
got-
ask
that's a lot of
around.
money.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Any other questions or comments? Sorry? All good? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Our Arena Convocation Center activity update, lots of activity on campus. Coach?
We have had lots of activity on campus over the past quarter. Hosted the Bryan County Tournament on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in January, and was a great turnout. Had approximately 10,000 visitors. Some were duplicated, but had a lot of basketball being played. Have had tomorrow we have an event, actually Thursday event. NASA through the Choctaws will be hosting an event in the convocation in the arena where they're actually we'll be talking to the astronauts, and they're bringing 700 to 800 kids from area schools, and they'll be able to watch that on the jumbotron. So it's a pretty neat deal. Then we've got commencement coming up in May, and then multiple camps. Probably more camps this summer than we've ever had when you're looking at basketball, volleyball, baseball, but the use of the arena specifically would be basketball and volleyball. But a lot of things going on, a lot of activity. And we still have, and I say this with a smile, we still have our daily walkers that come in, and there's probably a good 40 that come in per day and utilize that facility on on a daily basis, and when it's not open, they let us know that it's not open. So it's that's a
You never
good
forget
thing.
long, right?
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Hey, I would let you guys know about an event coming up on our campus as well, not in the arena, but first time we've ever hosted, March 23rd through 25th. Schools will start arriving on the evening of the 23rd and the 23rd. The 24th and 25th, it's called a Safety Olympics, and it's our occupational safety program is hosting schools from Texas, Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma, and it's just that. They'll do mock accidents and mock disasters, and they have one that's called a ingenuity something, I forget. Anyway, ideas for a new product. But anyway, we'll be hosting a bunch of students and coaches or folks that are traveling with them in our town, and should be kind of a neat thing. Chamber of Commerce is helping us with some welcome bags, but it's going to be a neat thing and be a lot of folks using our facilities and hotels and restaurants in town. So just for what it's worth.
Mark, I may add, I was Eric not saying something about basketball season. I really feel like this needs to be said. We're so appreciative of the community. Mm-hmm. Our turnout for this past year's basketball was great. We're gathering some numbers right now, and I think it'll be a record number that has attended our men's and women's basketball games. And we may not think about it a lot here, but when you go to these other places and you see crowds that are very scarce, mm-hmm. it makes a big difference for our teams to be able to play in front of the community members. And I would say this, it's mostly our community members. It's a big turnout of our community. So I would just publicly like to say thank you to our community members and business owners for coming and participating and being there to help support our student athletes.
Awesome. Very good. Parks and Recreation. Report.
So my report looks pretty bare just because of the fact that most of the projects that we have from your guys' funds, I am using it to double them with a land water grant, and we were supposed to get word in January, still haven't had word, and if I spend any of that money now, I negate that grant. So I'm holding off, hoping that we find out soon so I can start getting lights in the Carl Albert and Dixon Durant and move that pavilion. The biggest thing with pavilions is instead of rebuilding that one actual pavilion where it is, we're going to move it to the north side of the track and actually put ADA parking right there, because there's no actual ADA parking at that park other than at the middle school. So if we have one by the pavilion and make it where it's accessible to the bathrooms and all that, we're going to go from there. Shade structures at the sports complex. I just got tired of having construction companies give us the runaround and not tell us how much it's going to be or any kind of quote. So we started building them by hand. We're roughly looking at $5,000 per structure. We have the small softball stands done. The big one we're still going to have to bid out, because that is a huge project that I don't think my 5 guys can handle. It takes roughly a week to 2 just to get the small ones. If I get that big one up, there's no way I can fit that in to a winter softball or winter schedule. So we're pushing off on that. We did the bid packets, and it's been approved by City Hall or City Council to have J&L Paving repave or reseal the majority of the parking lot. There is a small section that will have to be redone, but when they bid it out, it was going to be for $366,000. And when he went out there and got a closer look, he's like, hey, if we reseal it, it's going to crack in another year. If we redo it all, it's going to be roughly the same amount. So I was like, if you're doing the same for the same amount of money, able to do what I need, go for it. So we're going to have to adjust the bid packet from there. But they'll start. I was hoping to get started before season started, but it has not happened. So we're, as soon as it starts, seasons end, we're going to start doing repaving. It roughly, they split up into 4 zones, and it takes roughly 7 to 10 days per zone to reseal it, cure it, and make sure everything's fine. Now with the resurfacing the one section, I don't know how long that's going to take. They're getting back to me on that. But so once I get my outfield fence on field 1 back up, we are going to start, I mean, it'll be mowing season, but over the summer we're going to start back on putting up the shade structures. Since this budget, you guys approved $500,000 to go to the resealing of that parking lot. I'm using some of the funds to get bleachers for the soccer area. It'll be roughly four sets of bleachers, because with rugby coming on and doing a lot more tournaments out there, for us to have the national level tournaments, they require stands. So I was like, well, if we can just get those rollaway bleachers and use them every once in a while, it will end up paying for itself if more people come to town for those kind of events. At the complex, today is the last day of a Caddo tournament. And then the leagues are starting. I know soccer's starting up mid or end of March. Baseball and softball start April. And then I got the big rugby tournament in May, another one in July, and another one that we're shooting for in August. And plus any other random tournaments that pop up. We, as the sports complex, are actually going to host our own softball showcase with teaming up with Southeastern's softball. Southeastern is going to host a camp at the complex on a Thursday, I believe, and then Friday and Saturday and Sunday is going to be my rec coordinator called it Battle of the Borders, because we have Texas teams, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma teams.
Nice.
Verbally committed. They haven't paid yet, so now I'm getting a little antsy and nervous, but we'll be fine. They got until July to get in there, so we'll have all those teams coming in. And how well this goes, we're going to start doing it every year, making an annual tournament, and we're also going to try to do baseball and do a football one. We're just getting all the kinks worked out in one before we move on to a different sport.
Is that like a multiple age group, or is it?
I believe they 16
okay.
to 18s.
Okay.
There's two different divisions, but it's, like I said, they got multiple teams already verbally committed. I think last I heard 12 verbally committed to it, and then we can have up to 30 teams. So we should be good. Well, pretty much that entire complex will be closed down to public use, just so the teams that are not playing games, they can use baseball fields to practice. And we have invited college coaches to come down, take a look at the girls, and start hopefully recruiting and go from there. But that's all I have for the Parks report.
Is that it?
I know.
Hey, so what is your impression of? I know I got a grandson that played baseball last summer. Relationship with organizers. I know there's some outside organizers for some youth sports stuff. What's your impression of that, and how's that going?
Well, I mean, I like it, but I also don't like it at the same time, and that's with with baseball, soccer, and football. I like it because it's not us planning it. It's not us doing the legwork. It's them coming up and them hosting and doing the rec leagues. I don't like it because it's hard to schedule these outside entities to have, because I don't know when their games are. The agreements right now just say we're going to pay $12 per kid, and then we have use of the fields. That's pretty much all the agreement says.
Right.
So I'm trying to get the city lawyer to come up with an actual contract that says, okay, you guys are going to use fields these days, games will be on these days, and try to actually get an actual contract in versus just have fun. And so
with us not staffing that, organizing it ourselves, is it still an equitable? I mean,
we definitely don't make money off of it.
Yeah.
So with $10-12, we roughly spend $15 per kid just for field maintenance.
Right.
And that's hours, that's fertilizers, all the whole 9 yards.
Right.
So roughly $15. It depends on what sport. Some sports take more, but If you add it all together, it's $15. I raise it up to 12 because if I know a lot of these organizations, if you take $15 per kid, it's going to be a big hit in their budget, and they might not be able to play, or they would have to raise their prices.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying not to do. I'm trying to keep it where we're still being sustainable, but we keep those leagues. Now in Perkins, I ran every single rec league myself: baseball, softball, basketball, football, and soccer. It's doable. I don't recommend one person doing it.
Sure, yeah.
But it's doable. You can keep costs down because you aren't paying these out, paying for field usage, and you can organize it a lot better. I'm actually meeting with the guy that runs Bryan County Sports tomorrow, because he and Dennison and Sherman, they have their own rec coordinator that is in charge of that. And he has put interest into that kind of position here. So I'm going to go over the numbers with him, because right now he runs those leagues out of his own pocket and pockets all the money he makes on these tournaments. And I don't know if he's going to realize that how big of a step down that will be if he's just getting paid salary and not hosting that. But we can keep costs down and make it where it's a city-ran league. In the future, I would like to have adult rec leagues and have it at Billy Miller, because those fields are being utilized, but not on a regular basis. But we do kickball, softball, fun, football. Just easy stuff, and get that kind of going. But again, it would take someone planning those leagues.
Yeah, and a whole bunch of folks, you know. Yeah.
And so it's doable. I would like to in the future, but with the staffing I have now, it's not attainable.
Right.
But I am proposing to get more staff and try to broaden out, because in my opinion, Parks and Recreation in Durant is literally parks, and then we have very little recreation that the city hosts. I would like to make it more equal and have more city events, more city-ran tournaments, rec leagues, things like that, but it's going to be a process of building it up.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Well, I'm the next thing too.
Yeah. Okay. Next, here we go. Yeah.
So
moving right along.
I felt like I should just give you guys fair warning for since I know this tax is ending soon.
Yeah.
Getting my plans out for the sports complex, since we just recently approved the parks master plan at the advisory board. Next week I'm getting the plan approved hopefully approved through city council. But what I'm looking at is, first we got to really redo some of the areas in the actual complex. From everyone I've heard, when they planned the building or planned the site, and then when it came to executing the site, the plans were totally different. So I'm having to go back and fix things that should have already been maintained. Next year, we need to resurface that track and have I talked to the Southeastern's track coach. I heard he's retiring, so it might change. But getting a track that is being able to utilize so Southeastern can host track tournaments. From what I gather, I was told that the track is not regulation size. I called the company and I was like, hey, how much would it cost to resurface this and fix it to where it's regulation? And they map it and they're like, it's regulation. I don't know what you're hearing. I was like, okay. But there's a lot of holes because they pretty much said it and then moved on. They never maintenance throughout the deal. So we got to resurface that track. It is a hazard. Getting new pole vault pads and all that, that's all going to be next year. A barn or in a workshop for our workers. Right now, you can barely even see it on this map, but we have a very small building for all of our stuff. We can't fit all of our lawnmowers in that building. So we're having to buy equipment more regularly because it's always out in the elements. So getting a shop that actually houses all that. LED lighting for the entire complex. First stop is soccer. Those fields have zero lighting whatsoever. So during the fall, when it comes soccer season towards the tail end, all the coaches are trying to cram their hour-long practices in roughly 2 hours of time when there's not enough space and all that. So getting lighting down there, getting a new concession stand and restroom down there so we can sell concession stand stuff, because before we were selling it, and when I got it all approved through health code, they said if you sell out of that building you can possibly lose your health code license. I worked too hard to get that thing on there, so I just shut down the concession stand. Getting that stuff, replacing scoreboards. When I started, we were working with Durant Youth Scoreboards, Youth Scoreboard Foundation with Barry Switzer and all that. Since then, I've had one scoreboard go out in and out, seems like every other month, and then we get it out working and another one goes out. Getting new scoreboards that aren't the cheap ones, that are actually purchasing and looking into it and getting those, getting press boxes all set up so there can be outlets at all the baseball fields, having a PA system at each one. And then replacing the broken concrete and expanding the walking trail around soccer so someone that is ADA can actually make it to the 10 and U field instead of having to watch from a very long distance away. Having those kind of the amenities would be a great choice. So that's what I'm planning on doing for here. If you scroll down a little bit, Tammy, and the packet, it shows like roughly what year I'm planning on doing this. The big expenses are sooner rather than later, but when it comes to keep going. Yep, no, you're fine. Keep going. So the future of the complex, the expansion, pretty much it's double the size to the north. We have enough space to make 2 adult baseball, softball complexes, so we can have adult rec leagues without having to put up temporary fencing on each one, and we can have the youth complex be an all youth area. Having multi-purpose fields like for football, lacrosse, soccer. Right now, even with the soccer fields that we have, if football only has the one football field to utilize. So everyone tries to practice and play on that field, so it runs out of space. They make up areas and they just go to green space to practice. Having those field areas designated for practices, we'll also have fields at Billy Miller. An indoor recreation building with indoor pickleball, indoor basketball, things like that, and then have an outdoor pickleball basketball court. So you can have all these outdoor events and indoor as well. From what I've heard, everyone asked me, why don't we have an indoor facility that other than what the Choctaws have? And I was like, well, it's never been put into a plan to have that. So getting that out there, and so this layout and all that, it is subject to change. This is me on Google Earth. This is not a professional engineer by any means. So they will have to look at and have engineers look at it and see, okay, this, how you have it spaced out and all that is not the best way. You need to have it. So, but that's what I would like to see, have multiple entrances and exits, because during the winter months, if we can make it work, possibly having a outdoor Christmas drive-through area at the complex. Since that complex barely gets used between December and possibly January, you have that drive-through Christmas deal to bring people into town, but it'll be just for fun kind of deal. There wouldn't be much to do it. But having that kind of plan for this complex is going to be our biggest issue. But I want to just bring this up to you guys, because when we start approving budgets next year, it's going to be on there, and I want to show that I have looked into everything. It's not me just wanting getting as much stuff as possible before this tax. I do have plans to keep this thing going, getting the staff to have rec leagues for city-ran rec leagues, having the staff to have more tournaments, because right now I have 5 guys that if they work Monday through Friday. We have a tournament over the weekend. We're doing overtime just to make sure the fields are going during those weekends. So having a crew for weekends, and it would, right now with the amount of projects that we have at the complex, I don't have enough guys to mow and do projects. So getting all that onto paper, getting it fixed is my biggest work right now. But
if you expanded this, what would the staffing look like then? You say you got 5 guys, that's not enough.
When I went to that survey deal, and when it talked about parks, right now Parks and Recreation and the sports complex, all together we have roughly 10 guys, and that's for Durant. Everywhere else has a quarter of the amount of land we have, but double the guys. Even with Ardmore and Ada, their complexes, they only have 4 fields. They have 4 guys for those 4 fields. I have 5 guys for all that space. So roughly, you go in at phases. It's not overnight kind of deal. You would have to have probably 2 to 3 crews of 5. And then the more area you actually cover, the more you're probably looking at altogether when that whole thing is done, probably 4 crews. And that's not including if we do an indoor rec building to manage the stuff in there, because I have never ran an indoor rec building, so I would have to look into what it would cost for staffing issues.
Well, I like the idea of, we've funded several different projects, over the last couple of years, which I think have been great projects, but this is kind of the one that started it, and I would, personal comment, I would have no issue with trying to leave that thing with a good look and good feel to it when this sunsets on this fund. But again, that's just me thinking out loud.
I just really wanted to get my view across on, because in the past year or so, sitting in these, you guys have always asked what's next, showing that I am playing for what's next, and is I feel like a big open communication step.
Other questions? Comments?
Sure.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Nothing under administration I'm aware of. Any new business? Any other things we need to discuss, or?
Not necessarily new business, but just to dovetail on his communication. With the tax going away in '24, the process to continue the tax to assist in projects like that it would have to go back to a vote of the people. Is that correct?
I might add to that, in my humble opinion, there's a lot of competition for that happening in other areas too. A lot of people want that tax. So if we do want to continue that for the complex, better start campaigning now.
Yeah. A lot of folks saying keep the tax, but for other projects.
The tax is gone.
Yeah.
It'll be, if anything happens, it'd be a new tax.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
And then what that new tax would be for is highly debatable at this point.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Anything else we have? Other comments or conversation? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
And 2 seconds.
Aye.
Trustee Briscoe,
Yes.
Trustee Dillard,
Aye.
Trustee Grover,
Yes.
Trustee Miller, Trustee Morris,
Aye.
Chairman Webb.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all. Appreciate your input and support.